Okay, well, I have to tell a funny story about Kate because we were at some campground. I'm not sure where it was, but we had come from Boston to see you guys, and so that children are playing. That's sort of normal, and there was this big stack of boxes, and the kids were climbing on them, and so I watched you, Kate, pull little baby Lydia across these boxes, and maybe Lydia was, maybe 10 months old or maybe 15 months, but anyway, you were dragging her over, and I was thinking, like, is this baby going to survive her first 2 years, And Lucinda was like, oh, they'll be fine. It's like, so there was always these, escapades that were going on in between the siblings that were like, okay. That was too cute. Very cute.
Well, one of the things that I find most notable about you in our lives is that you and Uncle Jonathan, who's Mom's cousin, obviously your marriage didn't, it ended, but I never felt any separation from you. Mm-hmm. You were always part of our lives, and there was no, hitch in our relationship with you, it seemed, and I've always thought that was wonderful, and we are so grateful that you are our auntie, and that we didn't lose you.
Yeah, me too. I got the family. Poor Jonathan, he moved away. I get to keep the good part.
Yeah. So did you stay in Boston after? I mean, were you in Boston? I mean, I remember you being down south, but what year would you have moved down south?
Well, now I was in Amherst when we separated, so I probably moved back to Memphis in 80 after David was born. So that's a whole other journey and story, but then it would be, it took a lot more to get here. Mm-hmm. It still came up quite a bit. Yeah. And one summer, David and I drove up, and we took 6 weeks to camp through New England, and we stayed here for one of those weeks at least. And I would have dragged the rest of you kids with us if we'd had a big enough vehicle for that.
So that was what Susan's talking about is a renewal of our ties, but David was always seemed like he was always part of our scenario, like a cousin, like
right.
Yeah.
And so I can remember when I can remember, I'll tell this on Susan. So here's baby David, his first visit to this house, and he's looking at the beams, which babies do, like, oh wow, look at that. Is that really? Is that really American chestnut? And I say, yes, they really like to look around and see people and see whatever is around a house. And Auntie Susan said, yeah. And I said, well, it's not, of course you knew that, right? And she said, well, I always thought it was you. I didn't, until I had David, I didn't know how much babies really do notice and take in their surroundings and the people around them.
Yeah.
And it was such a revelation, like, Susan was just indulging me. I was telling her, Lydia wants this, Joel wants that, new baby wants that, and she was thinking, nice, yes, that's
And so Susie was at just the right age when I came with David, and I was still nursing David, and so she thought, she did not leave my side the entire time. She had her doll. If I nursed, she nursed her baby. If I was rocking the baby, she was rocking her baby. So we were just like little twin sisters, twin mommies. And what was she? 4 or 3? I don't know.
Probably 4, because she's born in 76.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And
so
David
she
was
was
born in
4 or 5.
1980.
Anyway,
Yeah.
there she was my little shadow.
And she's your goddaughter.
Yes, and she's my goddaughter.
Yeah.
So that was very special. So
Yeah, it's interesting. You and the Rascalas. So I guess my parents decided, let's just, shepherd these baptized folks from the same date.
Because Rascalas were Susanna's godparents.
And you were.
well,
So
look at you.
it was like they decided, let's just make it a unit.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we went out to didn't they have a house
On
on
Skinny Atlas,
Skinny
yeah.
Atlas? So we would go there
Yeah.
and swim with everything on those visits. That's so many good visits. But I think the most important thing to say is our focus on the Lord together. And, I think through all my trials, you have definitely been there, warring for me and my situations, and I hope that I have equally been warring for your family and your situations as the years have passed. So that's been to have that bond in the Lord. And there was a season where we fasted and prayed every Monday, and had a certain number of scriptures we read together and things. So
It's been such a rich relationship and friendship that it would take a lot. It would take 22 hours to tell about. I mean, because one thing that Susan did was to commit with David to go to Cape Cod and serve with the Children's Special Sand and Surf Mission.
Oh yeah.
And that is a mission that's special outreach to families at the beach. And Susan could give more details, but started in England where some guy said, look at all these kids. This is a good vacation Bible school set up. There's no church here, and then just... And so one of the things that he, because it was England, one of the things that he did to make the friendliness obvious was that the adults were not addressed by first names or by Mr. and Mrs., but each of the counselors, if you will, or those participating, the adults participating, was given a nickname. So Susan and David went, the Wellmans were there, and Joel was part of that, they have them
Team. Yeah.
sessions. And Lydia went and got totally sunburnt as a lobster red. So that was not very fun for her, but
Lydia was on our team. She didn't go that time, but Joel was there.
okay.
He was Sherlock.
So Joel became Sherlock.
And I was Blossom, and David was Seaweed, and the Wellmans were
Saddle soap.
Rawhide because, and Saddle Soap because she was always putting on the sun lotion. But that was a remarkable trip of bonding with this group of people. But what I remember about Joel on that, they had a curriculum which we were supposed to follow, and you did these skits in the morning that would share the gospel.
But first, didn't you build sand?
Oh yeah, we had to go make a pit, sort of a backstage, a big mountain of sand, so we could kind of get behind it.
Okay.
In part of our skit, or keep the sound coming towards the children. And everyone at the beach came for the weeks that Sand and Surf was there because the parents were loving having their children have something to do every morning. So anyway, we had a curriculum which we were following, but like the last day, we just, for some reason, we just felt, no, we're going to tell the story of Noah. And So we changed the curriculum. And it was Joel's turn. All of us took turns telling the story of whatever the Bible story was. And it was Joel's turn. And so he was a high school, was he 16 or something? And so he is assigned to tell the story. Well, there'd been a storm the night before, and we had this amazing rainbow that dropped one end of it it filled the whole bay, and one end of the rainbow was right behind Joel. I mean, I hope we got pictures, I don't know. And we were going, this is like amazing. I mean, there was just this, God, thank you for helping us with the story here, with your life props.
Wow.
And I just felt that was a real sign of an anointing on Joel for preaching, which I hope he might take a stab at still yet. that was one of our adventures.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That was beautiful. Yeah. Oh, awesome. Well, and then there was just also the tie with the Schaefers and getting, to know that side of the family. The Schaefers really were important too in my story because they, Francis had a way of Uncle Frank had a way of looking through you, seeing something in you you didn't know you had. That was a beautiful thing. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, Jeremy was this, you just could not be in the house without him sharing the gospel and the truths of the scripture. And I remember asking him, Mick, in the early days, how do you know so much this story? And he says, just read it. You can know it too, just read it.
That's a good one.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so there's been so many wonderful seasons and times and weddings and happy occasions. I mean, Mom and Joel came down for my bat mitzvah when I was 60, what you're about to get to. We've worked at making sure that the relationship.
And that was wonderful to see. Since we've mentioned the wedding, to fast forward, as they say in the business, Susan's family, aging, and her mom committed to serving for Susan's bat mitzvah. Tottering around, making the food, and just
having everybody back after the service, yeah, that was so special. Yeah. So this house is such an amazing story because when we were first visiting, we were down the street, and then you moved to Redfield. Mm-hmm. So that house was quite a bit smaller, and there was somehow enough room for all of us in that house, as well as the growing family, and the miracle when God provided this house for you guys. I think we were around, or at least we were getting all the reports and the stories, and so I just think about all, coming here, and every time I was here there was a different configuration of who was in what room and who was sharing.
Who had to be moved because they were fighting too much.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't remember I know a lot of the younger children really wanted to be sleeping with Kate. That was like a number one priority.
I loved that.
Yeah, I know you did. But I can't remember who would have been all of them. Martha, Sylvia. Yeah.
Kate would read her history lesson to some child who is obviously not learning anything from that. I mean, that we know, maybe. It's but quite transfixed by whatever.
And during this war,
the War of 1812. This is Kate talking. Oh, listen.
Yeah, I was thinking about coming and I mean learning so much about life from your mom and you know one time the baby was screaming. I don't know which child it was, but this child was screaming in the crib, and your mom, you know, had about a million things to try to coordinate and do, and I said, hey, the baby's crying, you know, thinking I don't know what you know what the game plan is here, and she said, it's okay, they can cry for a little bit, and I said, do you want me to go pick them up or? And she said, no, I think it's good for them to learn patience and not to get what they always want immediately. Oh, okay. But I think there was some real wisdom in that. Not that immediate gratification. You can wait for help to come. Yeah, you're juggling a lot of lives.
And some babies need to let off steam before they can go to sleep.
Yeah.
I'm sure all of us have experienced, you think it's bedtime but you can't really go to sleep quite yet because you're
I have to try crying and screaming then. Maybe it's a remedy I haven't figured out yet. Yeah, I remember having so many wonderful times out underneath the trees. There's an assortment of furniture in all sorts of conditions and shapes.
Oh, don't sit on that one.
Danger. But you know we had a lot of picnics out there, and teas and glasses of wine, and you know sitting under the shade of the tree, and then kids buzzing around, and then the little house came. That was a nice addition to the joy out there.
Susan was missing the oak the other day, but saying how well the linden is coming along.
Yeah, because I remember when you took that down, that was like this huge.
Yeah.
It was like a present, the oak.
And your mom had like lots of blackberries along this fence at one point, and that was a real treasure. Everybody was out there, you know, making sure that they got picked. I don't think we ever got a bowl in the house, but what happened to all those blackberries?
They just gradually
Died
died off, I guess. Or maybe the deer ate them, I don't know.
And then there was the constant soccer game back on that back field. I mean, not many people get a whole soccer field in their backyard to deal with.
Yeah, we used ski poles as the goals. It was very effective.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah. Did David play with us? It was probably after I'd left for college.
Much into soccer, really. I mean, he wouldn't have been, you know.
He might have been forced.
Yeah, he probably was out there with everyone, but it was one of his favorite things to do to come to the Jackson Halls. In fact, he was saying last night that you know, next time he's coming, you know, he doesn't want to miss any more special occasions.
Yeah.
Because I think he feels like all of you are his family.
Yeah. He's our family. And the Whites, of course, he's gotten close to, who are, you know, of course,
Well, the Whites were...
my dad's side.
The Whites were, you know, when he was... I think the first time we went to England and stayed with the Whites, he was about 16. So Jonathan and Deborah and Daniel were older and at drinking ages. And they took him out drinking, and included him as if he was their age group. Man, that sold
Made
him.
a big hit.
It made a big hit. Made a big hit.
Yeah.
Did they go to a pub?
They took him somewhere where I don't know how they got him past.
Well, they probably just shuffled the glasses around.
Maybe that's what
I don't think they're as fussy in England. I don't know.
No, I don't know.
Yeah. And then David did a year abroad, is it a year or a semester?
A semester in Wales, and we spent lots of weekends at Jillian's house. So then they became very close. So he feels tied into this family
Yeah.
in a big way,
Yeah.
definitely. So do you have any other memories of our visits? Because there's just so many.
Thanks be to God. Yeah, it was just, Susan was always, I mean, because we are differently gifted and different backgrounds, and Susan would say, I think do you have bowling around here? And then she'd not line everybody up, just, jumble them up in a mess and say, we're going bowling.
Yeah. Well,
It's
that was.
like, really? Can you manage it? I mean, can you manage it?
But after I had some friends with 6 children that came and lived with me as missionaries, and they were at the house for 8 months, and I realized that it's a different thing to go out and have fun and build all of that. It's so easy than when you're trying to juggle that all the time. So for you it was a relief, like oh, it's so much, I don't want to add anything more to my day. But for me it was like this treat and this adventure, and I wasn't juggling all the meals and everything every day. So you come to it from a totally different perspective.
Well, that's definitely my memory, was that when Susan came to town, Aunt Susan, it was gonna be fun.
Yeah.
No matter what, there was something she would come up with something up her sleeve, like unexpected, and even if it was just driving around, she'd let people sit in her lap while driving. But one thing you definitely have in common, I would say, is sort of a fearlessness in your approach to life, but with wisdom, and then a joie de vivre. You both have it. And I think of you guys as, you do definitely have a joie de vivre. There's no question about that, which makes you very well matched for being in each other's lives, and I really appreciate that.
Trusting in the Lord, because things that seem as though they're going to be more than you can handle, when you trust in Him, He shows you how to get through, how to make it.
Yeah, so many things. And that's just trying to, you have them all in the richness of your life is all those things that build up to being a story, to being a story. But there was never, and that's the other thing, because you have a very welcoming spirit, it was easy to know that you were welcome, and then you can do things that were part of your gifting and your joy in your life. So awesome.